Jonathan, I got to admit something to you. I have to get this off my chest. I have been, at times in my life, controlled by the devil.
That sounds...
You don't seem as shocked as I thought you would.
Well, yeah. It sounds...
You can tell. It's like, no duh.
It sounds really alarming, because everybody loves their own autonomy, the sense of like, well, I'm charting a course for my life and I'm doing what I want to do. So the idea of being under, evil control or something sounds horrifying. And yet Swedenborg says hey, we've all done that this week. I mean...
And not just we all, me, Curtis, I've been controlled by the devil. And that doesn't mean, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to take responsibility for my actions, but it means that there's two distinct phases in life, or modes of being. One in which you're controlled by the devil, and one in which you're not. And we have the formula. We got the formula for how you can spot what it is to be controlled by the devil, what the devil is, and actually, once you know the formula, it's not that bad. And yeah, you can look back over your life. You're like, the devil's got, it's like, what's that Carrie Underwood song? Jesus, take the wheel. You know it? The devil's got the wheel a lot.
Yeah. And the easy signs are that your eyes turn really weird and get this flame in them. And then there's a sort of a stench and often cackling.
That would be nice. But actually it's just like, oh, darn. Yeah, I was then. I was controlled by the devil. And while it might be not as exciting, what we're going to give you today, people at home, is like a little bit of, could come off as a little boring. I mean, when the reveal is like a little boring. Oh, that's it. It's just that. It's not the red eyes. However, the impact is not boring at all, because you can be chasing after a devil that doesn't exist and miss the devil that does exist.
Yes,
and if the human race understood and recognized the real devil for what it is and took action against it, I think you could see a much better world than an excitingly different world. So we're gonna play a game which is like spot the devil in our lives. This is like, you can see a case study of like a couple of people, hopefully after today, ex-devil controlled people, noticing when is it there?
How can you tell?
So the fastest way that the devil takes over your life is through this particular kind of love or motivation that can come to rule in your heart. We're going to be reading out of Secrets of Heaven, Volume 10 for this. And Swedenborg starts out talking about neighborly love. So Jesus Christ says, what's the great commandment? Love your neighbor as yourself. Love the Lord your God, right? So there's neighborly love, which we covered in another show, which is exactly what it sounds like, but there's nuances to it. Then there's the opposite, which is what we're talking about today. I said above that self-love and the love of worldly advantages in us make hell.
Self-love and the love of worldly advantages.
Self-love and the love of worldly advantages. If something makes hell, then it's the devil.
You would think it would be, I mean, isn't it a responsible thing to do? Like, you get your start in life and you need to earn enough money and you want to achieve certain things, and aren't those worldly advantages? And isn't that just something that everybody, responsible people should be doing those things? And isn't there a place for loving yourself, caring for yourself, rather than beating yourself up or something? It's a strange. You'd think it would be something like savagery and cruelty, or this hatred or something like that. It's interesting that that's defined in terms of love.
It's got to be wrong, right?
It
doesn't make sense.
It's probably translation.
That doesn't make. The translation team was just like putting whatever they wanted to on the page.
Those people. As
this guy runs the translation of this particular edition of Swedenborg. So if we're talking about hell is, we're about to see. Let me finish this quote.
That's the way with Swedenborg, isn't it?
Now I need to describe these kinds of love so that you can tell whether you exhibit them, and consequently whether hell or heaven is in you. because we do have either hell or heaven within ourselves. The Lord teaches in Luke 17:21 that God's kingdom is within us. So that's also where hell is.
Oh, so sort of under new management is the phrase that comes to mind. You know, you're trying to go from a shift where you're under the control of hell, whether you realize it or not. You're trying to get to a place where you're under the control of heaven, like heaven is in you.
Yes, and
You
we're
know, sort of like the software that's running or something like that, right?
this is a conversation about human happiness versus misery. So,
Okay, well that's a nice, clear way to put it.
because like what
Yeah.
what are you talking about? Heaven and hell? Are you talking about the afterlife and or religious kind of stuff and where we'll go? The life comes down to human happiness, peace, contentment, which is
That's right.
That's the will of divine love is, and that's just, I don't even have to say divine love because part of your brain shuts off when I say, what are you talking about divine? That's just the will of love.
Right.
When you love somebody,
Yeah.
you want them to have a happy life, right?
Yeah. That's right.
So that's the intent of God from which you get your love. That you ever felt love, that's God. That is like, it's just like the same thing as you put your hand out into the sunshine and it feels warm.
Yeah.
It's the same. That the love is coming out of God into us. So it's like, how do you have this heaven inside you that makes you happy and peaceful and contented? Or you got this other state, which is hell, which is not always miserable, but it's on the whole miserable. And so I've been in both a lot of times, and I'm keenly interested in, I'm parsing over, like I love when Swedenborg will make statements of this is what makes hell in you, this is what makes heaven in you. Because I spent enough time in hell, in different kinds of misery, that I'm like, I want to, like, what's the formula? How do you get out of this place? And the kingdom of heaven, that sounds great, but how do you do it?
Yeah. And when I first read these things for myself and started thinking about them, I was like late teenager kind of thing. And it was saying, you're either in heaven or you're in hell, all the time, like this is your condition. And I just thought to myself at that time, I don't think I'm ever in either of those places, ever. I don't think I'm really like way in hell. I'm not in heaven either. I'm not happy. I'm not doing great or whatever. It just seems like I'm in some sort of gray sort of nether zone in between there or something. I couldn't relate to it.
Yeah.
Now I realize, oh no, that was hell. So I feel better now about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing when I was a teenager. Like I could not. It's too jumbled around. But also, heaven or hell, as I understand it, according to Swedenborg, is not just like pure happiness or pure misery.
No, that's right. And that's an important concept, isn't it? It's a really, really important concept. Because if you think it's a matter of, and it's hard to put into words because it's not absent from the equation, but Swedenborg talks about the difference between joy and happiness, which is like the same thing, right? But he talks about joy.
Are you happy? No, I'm joyful.
Yeah, that's right. Can't you tell?
You don't even pay any attention to me. Sorry.
What he talks about making you happy is your work. It's sort of like the direction of your life, what you're wanting to achieve, how you're wanting to benefit other people, things like that.
Yeah.
And says that, often when you're doing that, you're running into frustration. We didn't succeed at that, and we were hoping this would work better, and it didn't work, and I'm sad about that, and wonder if I'm failing the cause, or right? Well, it's not like joy every second, right?
No.
But it's this long-term sort of satisfaction of being involved in something important.
I guess it's like cliche for me on this show to quote Pink Floyd. Like I did like Carrie Underwood and Pink Floyd.
So, yeah.
Just
like me and Monty Python. I don't know what it is.
But you think you can tell heaven from hell.
Yeah.
And when that comes out, people probably are like, what are you talking about? They're the exact opposite. No, like you can't tell heaven from hell. And even if you're not coming at it from a religious standpoint, happiness from misery, you can't tell the difference a lot of the time. Let me give you some tangible examples.
Yeah.
An easy to illustrate example is when you're in any form of addiction.
It's a great one. Great one.
Because
Classic.
when I'm in that state, there's times when I'm ecstatically happy.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
also there's a growing unmanageability of life but you don't connect, you don't understand. This is why people have to have interventions, because you don't get that the cycle you're in is dragging you lower and lower. Your body's starting to
Right.
fail.
And the thing that gives you the satisfaction and the elation is part of the problem. Like, you're increasingly reaching for that thing because the rest of your life is mysteriously failing.
Right.
But you don't see the connection between the fact that, no, it's that thing that is what you think is the happiest thing in your life.
Yes.
Is what's causing these problems, because it's sort of sucking all the oxygen out of the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
all your money and your energy, everything's going over to this thing.
So another example, and then I want to tie it in with this third example, but another example is obsessive compulsive disorder, which I've had my whole life. So obsessive compulsive disorder is you feel these miseries and worries and these fears, and then you have this urge to do certain things in order to get rid of those fears. For some people, it's like the hand washing and
right,
but it's whatever.
Checking the stove or whatever.
That's right.
Right.
So, but what they found when they study it is, like, when you do the compulsion, you feel better for a little while. But the whole thing gets stronger then and takes over your life more and more.
Yeah.
So that's like,
which is perfect on the addiction model.
Yes.
Because it's that same thing of, like, the brief fix is what the addiction is all about, right? It solves it in the short run, then the crash is bad. So you need to, try to, and you never quite get back to that level that it takes more in terms of substance abuse and so on. It's a vicious cycle.
Okay. So you don't realize that overall it's a state of hell. And I would say these ones are natural conditions. So I'm not trying to put the kind of morality on them that heaven and hell give, but overall the presence of the compulsions, OCD complex, or the addiction, even though there's happiness and unhappiness in between, the whole thing is a sinking ship. It's a sinking ship toward less and less human happiness.
Yeah. There have been times when I look back over a period of time, and during that time, what was going on was I was hanging out with friends, killing ourselves, laughing, staying up late at night, all this kind of stuff. And then someone asked me at some point, when was the time when you felt joyful? And I couldn't think of one, because none of that was all out of an addiction cycle kind of thing, like, it wasn't real fulfillment or
interesting.
Sure, it was escape. It was hilarity, and so sometimes at other people's expense or what, but it wasn't actual happiness. It's very interesting. Yeah, heaven and hell. I love the fact that you mentioned that Pink Floyd song, because it's really good, and the examples they have all through that song is like, oh, you should totally be able to tell the difference between those things.
Yes.
And yet, it's kind of the idea that we can all be kind of led astray. Isn't that basic to the idea of hell? That hell knows where we live, and it's constantly recruiting, of course. Like, who wouldn't?
Yes.
And they're good, and so they know they can. Oh, this is what people. Let's get them this way. And confuse you, turn you around. So you think, oh, well, a lot of my life is not working very well, but I've got this one magic thing that is so good, can't get enough of it.
So the biggest hell, though, that I've ever been in, and actually the main hell of my whole life, has been my obsession with myself. I mean, that's what Swedenborg is, like, slowly teaching me. And I think that what that means...
That's really interesting.
Because we're about to talk about self-love. And I would say that I certainly had a bunch of self-esteem issues and sort of wanting more attention and more recognition and more all this stuff. So I know inside and out the importance of trying to feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
However, there's this sinking ship mentality, which is, or the more that my life is about myself and the more that I'm thinking about, like, particularly how am I better or worse than other people, that's the focal point for all the misery. Because I'm caring so much about me, that's why self-esteem issues have that purchase. Because I have like this jealousy of other people, that's why because I want to be better than them, other people's success makes me unhappy. Or insert all the other things there. The life in which the self is the end goal, there's just always going to be a cap on your happy. You don't realize that that's at the root of your problems. And sure, there's the like, you don't feel good about your self-esteem and stuff, but that from that same well springs all of the things that we would identify as like evil.
This is one of Swedenborg's great insights, isn't it? It's so amazing to think that all these big, like, headline getting sort of, mass murder or, like the most horrible things that people, genocide or whatever, that people have done to each other. You'd think, well, that's the worst thing in the world. And for Swedenborg to say, no, actually, it's a self-centeredness that's inside there somewhere, because it leads to not only that, but it leads to these other 20 things, that are more sort of mundane. And it feels like being obsessed with yourself, first of all, it feels like the human condition. And for another thing, it feels like, well, you need to, and what else you got? This is your sort of little vehicle that you're driving through life. And so don't you have, who else is going to be obsessed with it? Like somebody's got to do it.
I'll swap. I'll think about Jonathan Rose all the time.
Yeah, right. I'll think about Curtis all the time.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Well, it's obviously there's some complexity there, some nuance.
There really is. It's very confusing, very difficult to navigate being human and figuring these things out.
I'd imagine people hearing this right now, when we say like love of self, obsessed with self, you have different mental images that pop up, and it's either like, oh yeah, that makes sense, or that doesn't make any sense. So let's go into the details.
Yeah, and I think there's something that Swedenborg talks about sometimes, which is that you might think that it's an obvious kind of pride or arrogance or narcissism, or some people do, from our external perspective, seem to be like, whoa, they're full of themselves, or what do those. There are things in social media that talk about, I am the main character or whatever, kind of thing. You just see people moving through life and radiating that kind of quality. But Swedenborg says that people who seem very humble or very, it can be just as strong. It's tricky. It takes many forms.
The nutshell example. And again, this is the great insight, perhaps, of Swedenborg, and the essential insight may be to human happiness, which is the reason why I care about stuff like
that's right,
like Swedenborg
and
in the first place.
That was what Swedenborg was doing too. I mean, he wanted people to be in a better state.
So I have to go give speeches sometimes, or I get to, or whatever. So that means I'll go and talk about stuff kind of like this to a big group of people.
Right.
And because right now we're talking to a group of people, they'll watch afterwards, but we're just sitting in this room with cameras. It's not that, you're kind of insulated from the impact. If somebody's sitting there like they are right now, rolling their eyes, skipping around, you don't feel it, But when I have to go and talk to a bunch of people in real life, it's intimidating and it makes me nervous. And I can sit there and be in this misery about, are they gonna think I'm great at this or not?
Yeah.
So when I'm there and I can't control this anxiety around it, I'll say, that's a hell. To sit there and say, like, how is this outcome gonna go? Is everyone gonna think I'm fabulous? You can't control that. And you can feel the unrest in that state. The antidote to that, when I can get into it, is to think, okay, will what I say help be helpful.
Yeah.
And maybe there's a few people that will come that day to whom this will matter in their life. I better go and do that. Or I think, is this helpful to the organization that I work for? Or is this helpful to my family?
That's right.
So when you're doing that, you can feel, it's not like automatic. You have to get good at it, but you start to feel this, oh, now I'm in heaven, because all those worries don't have the same purchase on me that they used to have.
Yeah.
And you start to have this usefulness, which makes you immune.
And some of the greatest happiness I ever experience is often after doing this show, I just feel elated and wonderful. Or after you give a talk, so there's sort of the eve of, I often think, which is so exaggerated, ridiculous, but the crucifixion is so powerful that in the crucifixion story, it's the eve of, that's when you really see Jesus suffering. He absolutely suffers during the crucifixion. I'm not trying to denigrate that, but it's the night before is when he's sweating, like falling like great drops of blood, and when he's agonizing.
Why has it got to go like that? I hate the eve of stuff.
The eve
I
of
hate
is
the
so-
anticipation
the eve
of stuff.
It's hard. And I think part of the reason you're vulnerable is because you're not in it. Once you're doing it, you're doing it. Well, whatever it is, you're in it. But the night before, you're not even in it. So there's nothing you can do about it. But that's when they just have a field day with your head, right? It's certainly true for me.
That's funny, because if you get any kind of therapy or whatever, all the psychology techniques will always tell you, like, it's not going to be how you imagine it. It's not going to be how you imagine it.
That's right.
I do think...
And after a certain amount of repetition, some part of you, there's always a part that's nervous, but some part of you knows that, well, I've done this 100 times, and those eve of predictions are not accurate. They don't actually know.
When I'm in situations like that, where you're about to go through something hard, or I always think, I'm out, man. I don't want to be some cool guy that does hard things. I don't, just like the idea that Jesus laid the model, lives the big model of the little life that we all live. You can't be reformed without temptations. Or I just think, like, I just want to be some little guy in the back office, when I go to heaven, just stamping papers. I don't want to be some like warrior person who's doing this hard stuff. That's not me. I can't handle that. And then I'm like stressed about the crucifixion. Like, why do you have to go through that? Yeah. That's so tough. I don't want there to be this toughness in life. I would rather it be easy and fun.
And there's something and that comes across so much in the crucifixion story, that there's an essential aloneness. Even though Jesus is trying to connect with the disciples, they're falling asleep and they can't handle it. And there's something about those gigs that feels like nobody can, you're existentially alone. It feels that way. Now, the fact is, when you do those talks, you get a lot of help, like something kicks in and takes over. It's great. Yeah.
Two things. One, I think, like, poor guy about Jesus, just from my limited experience in my own little trials, I'm like, what poor guy. I don't want him to, I don't want him to have to go through that. That's terrible. Right. Second of all, though, you know what part of the misery of the eve of things does is it gets rid of your love of self. Because when I was little, I was like, oh, I want to be famous. I want to be like, have all this attention. And then the more things that I have to do like that, I'm just like, I don't want this drama. I don't want to do this. And because the actual desire to stand out above other people, that's not heaven, that's hell.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean
that's right.
We can't have people off doing great things that get a lot of attention.
Yeah.
But they got to be doing it because God's asking them to, and they want to do good from it. I just want to be prominent. That's hell, and it has the misery of hell in it. And it's like slowly through all the hard things, all the distress I go through around that stuff, I'm slowly shedding. I can tell in my life, I'm shedding this hell of like wanting to be that, because I'm like, ugh, no, I don't want that. I just want simple little things. I just want to be my little teeny life,
There's this sketch that Monty Python did years ago about bicycle repairmen, where you have this world of all these superheroes. superheroes. They're all, they're all just absolutely, Neutron Man and Mega Man, all these amazing people. None of them knows how to repair a bicycle. And so they all revere bicycle repairman because they all ride bikes and they love this guy who's the only guy in their community who knows how to repair bikes. The reason I bring that up is that after you do this for a while, like you start to realize, man, there are things I absolutely could. There are millions of things I couldn't possibly do. I'm terrible at so many, really. There's about 3 things I'm good at, And so, yeah, I get to shine right now. But thank heaven somebody else did this other thing because I wouldn't have the first idea how to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that's how you get you want to make a contribution, but it's not about, I shall stand out above all. Yeah. I shall be recognized as the great. No, you're part of a community and you've got your little 2 bits that you contribute and other people do their amazing things,
Yeah, because that's how you could actually be happy. You can't be happy the other way.
No, the other way, it's not happiness. You think, oh, this will be great. Yeah, I'll be at the top of the heap. That'll be great. No, it's misery.
So this is one aspect of it we're describing, the self-love. But there's more of like a root characteristic of what the bad version of self-love is. And here's where we get some real clear description of that. Self-love reigns supreme in us. We exhibit self-love when in our thoughts and deeds we focus not on our neighbor or the public at large, let alone on the Lord, only on ourselves and those closest to us. We display self-love then when everything we do is for ourselves and our own. And if we do act to benefit our neighbor or the public at large, it is only with the intent of being seen.
Well, yeah, that's uncomfortable.
It's an exclusivity thing. So you can think about yourself and those closest to you, sure.
You have to, yeah,
but
right.
It was like, sorry, I forgot to pack your lunch again.
Yeah.
However, it can't be that's a subset of everybody. Here's an example of that. So weather events. Whenever there's a big weather event coming towards my house, I'm like, oh no, I hope it's not that big because I don't want my basement to flood or something. Yeah, so please let it be. But when there's one that's not going to hit me, I'm like, oh, that's kind of fun. Oh, it's big. That's exciting. What's that? Is that okay?
Yeah, right.
Is it okay for me to think like that?
Right.
I mean, you don't want to try to get too, but fundamentally, that's stupid. Those people all have their basements.
Yeah.
Would you want them thinking that about the storm that's going to hit your house? That's the insanity of self. It's just the insanity of self-love. Yeah. It's like, oh, this isn't good. As soon as like the storm track changes and it might hit me, oh, I hope if it's going that way, oh, that's cool.
Oh yeah. 1,100 people killed in an earthquake or something like that. It is hard from the way that the news comes in that you just think, well, those must be kind of meaningless people because like it's just such a big number. I can't even process it. And not really. No, every single one of those people is exactly like you. They care about, did they want their lives to be disrupted? Do you want oh no, this might slightly interfere with my, with my plans.
That's not where I think you need to attack it. Like that's not the most serious place. And you can't, there is such a thing as like compassion fatigue and that we're exposed to so many people.
In a way that was never quite the case in the past.
And I do notice for myself that part of the reason why I can't like, oh no, when a storm is going somewhere else is because then I would always be stressed about every storm. And you have to storms just everywhere.
They're rolling across.
So I'm not saying you got to try really hard to not do that. However, it's a great little window into the insanity of the self-love condition, which is not
your own little island. Yeah.
It's not really human nature like we think it is. It's this artificial, weird way of being human. That's not how we were initially created to be. Okay, let's go on. I am saying for ourselves and our own, because we are inseparable from those closest to us, and they are inseparable from us. For instance, if a man does anything for his wife, children, grandchildren, sons-in-law, or daughters-in-law, he does it for himself, because they are his. The same is true if we do anything for more distant relatives or for friends who bind themselves to us by catering to our self-love, because through this bond they form a unit with us. They see themselves in us and us in themselves.
That's such a great insight. And the thing is that, I mean, it's the good and the bad are so close, or in a way. Swedenborg talks about the oppositeness, but they can be tough to tell apart, because there's a lot of good in that idea of, well, this is my team, we're a team, and we're working together to do the,
Yeah,
you know, or
right.
my family, my peeps, and all that. But but I think it's really like, what about the rest of the world? Like, how do you treat? There's such fun stories that you run into of people who just do surprising. Like, I saw a video yesterday. I don't know if it's for real or not, but
You never know.
John Bon Jovi rescued this woman who was about to commit suicide. You know, she was on a bridge and she was going to end her life, and he was just doing a photo shoot on the bridge.
Yeah.
And he went over and talked her into not jumping. And but it was so cool. Like, what it, you know?
Yeah.
It just moved me, because he could be like, hey, I don't have time to deal with that. It's not my problem. I'm here to do a photo shoot. I got to get on with my life, you know, or whatever. And he said, breaks the whole thing. Yeah.
I don't know if this one was real either, but it was a news story. So I think there was a house that was on fire, and apparently there was a guy who was just going out for a drive to clear his head, because he struggled with mental illness and I think addiction, and he was just driving just to deal with a difficult situation. And he saw that house on fire, and he pulled over, ran into the back of it, got 5 kids out of it. And then they were like, there's still one in there. And he heard someone crying. So he went back in, crawled along the floor, got this little baby out. And then it was showing afterwards. And he had inhaled a ton of smoke, and he had like a cut on his arm. But he was just saying to the fireman, like, is that baby okay? Like, tell me that baby's okay. And they're like, yeah, she's fine. He's like, are you sure? 100%? And so that right there is like, what does he care about even afterwards? Even though he's a hero on TV and I'm talking about him now, he's like, what is that baby okay?
Yeah.
And also in an interview later, he said like, well, anybody would have done that. Yeah. Anybody would do the right thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, we know something's there. This thing is the key to heaven. It's like, can you tell heaven from hell? They seem like they're intertwined. It's like the wheat and the tares growing up.
Great example.
But as
absolutely identical for a long time. It's like, oh, they look exactly the same. Yeah.
But this like, you love your own group is not enough. You see that because all this stuff that you point to in history as like, this was the worst stuff. This was the worst stuff, like Genghis Khan or the Nazis or something. Yeah. Everybody loves their own group. But if you despise the rest of the world in comparison with your own group, it's not good enough.
That's where it's so much about, and I think that's why both of our examples were about that, where it's like, okay, but how does your group treat the people outside the group?
Okay, let me read this next part. The more self-love we have, the more we remove ourselves from love for our neighbor. So the more self-love we have, the more we remove ourselves from heaven, since heaven is marked by love for one's neighbor. From this, it also follows that the more self-love we have, the more we are in hell, because hell is marked by self-love. Okay,
and this is obviously talking about the negative, kind of self-centeredness, or I'm the only one who matters, or I don't know how to put it, but
we're gonna put it. I think the next thing we read is him describing that pretty clearly. Great. But I do want to say, I don't want to be in hell. I want to be in heaven. Hell is miserable, and I you know what? I spent enough time there. I got my passport stamped so many times. Yeah. I don't want to be there. Yeah. I want to be happy. I want to be at peace. Yeah. I want to feel. I want to have integrity. I want to feel love for my fellow human beings. I want to be the same kind of person inside that I project outside. There's so many things that I want. I want to make a difference. I want to care for the people that depend on me and the people I'm supposed to help. And I want that. Yeah. Everybody wants that. Yeah. I mean, you come to want that, right?
And I think two words have been in my mind in this show. One is peace, and the other one's playfulness, which I think Swedenborg would associate with innocence. But there's peace. That's one that hell can't give you. Like you can get that sort of relief of the noise in your head. Mm-hmm. You know, they say for some people it's like there's so much noise about, will I act out? Will I not act out? Will I act out? Will I not act out? There's some sort of the noise level goes down when you act out, because that's what the voices in your head, sort of wanted you to do. Yeah. It's not peace. And and very soon the shame cycle, and then, you get back into it again. Now you got the tension again. And so is that the only way to relieve the tension? Real peace, being comfortable in your own skin, Yeah. Just, Swedenborg says it's indescribable, the peace that's in heaven. I think hell doesn't know anything about it. There's those scriptures about people who are scared when they hear a leaf on the street behind them. They think somebody's going to come and stab them or something like that. It's just a little leaf being skittering down the road. I think when you're deep into that evil, there's a profound state of fear, just horrible emotions kind of running your life. And I think we've all felt that. We've all had tastes of that, I think.
It's this complex intersection that I've tried to understand my whole life and through reading Swedenborg and everything else. Complex intersection between morality and psychological health and self-esteem and happiness. That it's not as simple as, are you good or bad? If you're good, you'll feel good. If you're bad, you'll feel bad.
Yeah. No.
But there is a link. It's like hell makes you feel bad, meaning the influence of hell on your mind is trying to make you feel bad all the time. That there is an active force in the world of spirits or in the afterlife that is like hell coming and attacking you, and does so through your thoughts and feelings. And then there's heaven, which is trying to, yoke is easy, burden is light.
Yeah.
Now there's certain things that we do that make it so hell has more power over us. Yes. Even if those things are, but the more that I'm preoccupied with my reputation and myself, and the more that I trust in my own prudence or think this is the way that my life should go, versus love for what I can do and trusting that God runs life, which that's the state of heaven, as Swedenborg describes. When you're in that, your worries, they don't have like the handholds. They don't have those little rock climbing things on them to climb up and get you.
Yeah, and I'm wondering about the word humility as well, because that's in there somewhere. Although people can feel very crushed, in like a hell state, but there's something about that. Swedenborg describes some of these evil spirits with this really tremendous arrogance and pride that they display. They really think they run the universe or something. And
yes, humility is invincibility, but only a particular kind, though. Like
only a particular kind. That's right.
The humility that is saying God is everything. There's an invincibility in that, because God is always going to be there to help you and wants to give you the feelings you want. Wants to give you happiness and peace, but sometimes we can't get those feelings because we're still in this state of preoccupation with, or we're in a state of evil of some kind.
The other thing that's so confusing about being in this world, it's a temporary problem. We're just here for a little while,
right?
But it's so confusing to be in this world, because if you're on a good path, I mean, look at Jesus. He was on the best possible path from my point of view. You know, that's what Christianity is at its heart to me. Is Jesus was doing it right, you know, was really doing it right. Did he suffer? Unbelievably. Yes, he suffered. Unbelievably. So it's not a path that's like, oh, well, I'm suffering, I must be on the wrong course, right? That's what's confusing about it, is that there can be satisfaction and pleasure and good feelings. Swedenborg says that some of the feelings associated with like being dominant, you know, just filled his chest, like it just feels great, you know?
Yep.
And so it's tricky. You can't really tell just from kind of the delight level, because when you're trying to move in a positive direction, you know, when a breeze from hell blows on you, Swedenborg describes these breezes in the other world, the little blow on you, and I think we experience these in our spirit now, where if you like that, you're happy. It's like, oh, this is titillating. I like this. You know, this feels good. Mm-hmm. It's going in a good direction. To somebody who doesn't like that, they feel horrible. You know, it twists them up, or their stomach's in knots and everything, because they don't like that. And the same with a heavenly breeze. Like it's very hard to tell what's going. Even to the point where Swedenborg says you can't really judge your own state. You know, you don't really know where you are, because everything feels good to some people. Everything feels like freedom and love. Everybody's got their own definition of good. Yeah. Right? You know? And yet some of them are really good, and some of them are not. Some of them are upside down.
We're never going to, I can tell, or I have this sense here that it's like, yeah, we're just, what do we do? What do you do? There's so much complexity. We're never going to have it be that we can say to even ourselves, let alone anybody who's watching, here's the exact prescription for your spiritual life right now. Right. Because that would be like saying, well, everybody here needs to take vitamin D. Yeah. Because vitamin D is so good for you. Let me list the benefits of vitamin D. It does this, it does that, it helps with your mood and your digestion. And that. You got to take vitamin D. If you already have enough vitamin D in your system, it's toxic for you to take extra vitamin D. That's right. However, there are, so the individual journey of health for an individual depends on what you need and what you're doing. However, there's truths that can help guide things. Yeah. I remember once hearing that there was, there's all these different diets. And somebody was saying there's this, is it Atkins diet where you don't eat carbs?
Yeah, I think so.
There's Atkins diet.
Low carb,
you don't eat carbs. There's this other diet from Japan, I forget what its name is, which is almost all carbs. Both of them make you lose weight because they both cut out sugar. You know?
Right.
So it is with, in general, there's this toxic love of self. And the more, which as we're getting to is the devil, according to Swedenborg, that creates spiritual inflammation. And the less you can have of that, the better.
Yeah, that's right.
That is universally, 4 out of 5 doctors agree. So not quite universal.
That's right.
But 4 out of 5 doctors agree that that's pretty good thing to do. Also, you were saying before the process of trying to go from hell into heaven, which is that's what I feel like I'm trying to do all the time. Right. Go from hell into heaven. To feel like you're making any progress in that, or to try to do it, you got to have sort of a sense of what the big picture is. Because as you said, am I moving from hell to heaven right now because I'm experiencing all these challenging times and things, so this must not be going right. It'd be like if you didn't understand the process of growing from being a 3-year-old into being a 20-year-old. And you're like, this is going terrible. All my teeth are falling out. I'm having these like growing pains. Like now I'm more awkward now at 13 than I was at 4. Like this is going worse and worse.
It's bad. Right.
But so it's the same thing with understanding the process of going from hell to heaven, which is the human journey for everyone, which is what the Bible is. All these stories of the Israelites going to this country and there's these people there that are going to attack them and they have to, that's the story through correspondential symbols. That's the story. Here's what to expect. It's just like they hand you a pamphlet that's like, here's what to expect when you turn 16 and you're something you're going to have, or here's developmental milestones for your kids.
That's right.
From at age 6, they're going to start doing more of this or more of that. That's what the Bible is for you trying to get from hell to heaven. And unless you know that program, and unless you know what to look for, you're never going to be able to stay on course.
I can't remember if I've shared this before, but sometimes in my life I've been very, very turned around. Things that I thought were really good and were important, and I was being bold and courageous in doing those things, turned out to be bad things to do, and I sort of humiliated myself at whatever it was. But
this show,
I just thought that
let's look back on this in 20 years.
Swedenborg talks about your intentions. People say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Swedenborg says the road to heaven is paved with good intentions, meaning that if you genuinely, what your heart desires, what you're going for, that's very important, what you intend, what your purpose is. So, yes, hell will try to oppose you, get you turned around, get you confused and all that kind of stuff. But there's another team on the field. The Lord is also drawing you. Angels are drawing you.
Yeah.
And that the Lord knows the process. We don't even, we don't know west, east, north, south. Am I going up or down? I don't know what I'm doing. But the Lord knows.
Yeah.
And over time, I think that intention, sooner or later, you might be on the wrong track. But if you keep asking the question, am I on the right track? This is where I want to go. The Lord will help you get there.
Where do you want to go? That's what we're looking at here. Because you ask somebody, what's
exactly.
a happy life? What's the best life that you could have? And if your answer to that is something along the lines of, well, if I was top of my something in this, and if the people that I don't like failed at this, and I was able to get this kind of power and this kind of wealth, and then I would have a great life. That's you're walking toward hell when you think what you're trying to do is walk toward heaven.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought about people who would say, where do you want to be? What's your goal? And they say, not here. I don't have a goal. I just don't like where I am right now. It is important to have some sort of a vision. It can be hard to acquire. But like, where would you like to be? Is there somebody in your life who's somewhere that you would like to be? Yeah.
Let's talk about where we don't want to be. This is the attributes of destructive self-love.
So important. So important.
Yeah, this is where the character of this phenomenon, that Swedenborg, the translation is self-love. This is where the character of it starts to shine through.
Yeah.
People engage in self-love when they despise their neighbor in comparison with themselves.
That's pretty blanket. Like the neighbor, that's basically, the other 8 billion people on the planet?
Yeah.
Morons. Every one of them.
Yeah. Or
there's a clip for you.
Or just, yes. Like, that's a hot take.
Yeah.
That's a hot take. Dr. Rose calls out 8 billion people, quote, morons. Dr. Rose, PhD. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a self-centered, hellish point of view.
But one that we kind of implicitly all carry. It's like those people are out there. Who cares? They're not really real.
Yeah.
And consider their neighbor an enemy if he or she does not fawn on them and worship them.
That's a very important. Is it okay if I make comments about this as we go? Because I think that's such an important one. Like, it's a real sign of a certain sort of spiritual maturity if somebody says something you don't want to hear and you hold them in the same regard as you did before they, like a kind of a shibboleth, a way of testing and seeing whether you're having that self-love attitude toward the people around you, or you're genuinely have a love for your neighbor, is how do you react when they take a different position, or when they're actually critical of something that you did, or something like that?
Dude.
Because that pure self-love is like, I can tolerate no dissent. You know, we can be friends, fair weather friends, as long as you're singing my praises. But if I hear one word from you about, oh, maybe this wasn't so good, or you didn't like what no, man, we're done.
It's so easy for me to see about these videos. If anybody leaves a comment that says they like these videos, I like them.
Besties forever.
I can feel, or somebody says like, I watch your videos, I like them. I don't care what the rest of you is all about. You're all right with me.
You're all right with me.
You're all right with me. Even if, so sometimes we'll get comments, especially if we get an episode that is big, and a bunch of new people who've never seen the channel. We'll often get comments of like, when it's you and me, like, let your guest talk more. You're talking too much as the host. And I'm like, I hate that person. But if there's ever one, and not that there ever would be one, where they're like, you know, saying to you, like, you shouldn't, Jonathan shouldn't talk so much, let Curtis, I'm like, that guy's all right. That's pretty good.
No, that's a savvy person.
And that's even like, I consider you one of my people, meaning like we have a lot in common. We're good friends. Close. But even there, like that love of self is just like, it's involuntary, but it's just like, it's just the character of it. It's like,
and this is an important point, because what Swedenborg is not saying, the goal is not that you have none of this. The goal is not that you have none of these characters. If you're paying attention, you get the whole list. We all do. You know, we know that. We know those feelings. It's what is in control, active control of your life. You know, like, do you ban people who say negative things about the show, or do you know what I mean?
No, how do I,
you know, or get rid of me because the audience likes me too much, you know, so you need to get somebody where you shine more or something.
I've been here from the beginning, and now you're all crazy about, okay.
Yeah, we got to get rid of this. Does it take over? It's not, is it there in the mix? Because it's in the mix for everybody. It's part of the human condition.
And what's your attitude toward your own self when that stuff comes up?
That's good.
Like, if
that's
you
really,
see
really
it, it's there. A million things are there. You can't help it. You get all, and these are relatively non-serious examples that we're giving here. But when it comes up, how do you label it? Do you understand that this is that's a hell? That's a form of hell, and that's also why you're miserable when you're in that state. Is because it's a form, and it will never. Peter Rhodes, author, is fond of saying that it's a divine impossibility to satisfy the human ego. Is that it will never. Great. This is another characteristic of why that love is hell. That Swedenborg says, and you can see it for yourself.
Bottomless pit.
It's never satisfied. It's never satisfied. We do one of these videos and it gets a bunch of views, and we're like, yeah, we're so great. If the next one doesn't get, it's like, oh, I'm not so great. And it's never satisfied. Or if people compliment you for stuff, and you're like, well, but I want more. Or I want people to say something.
Want a better compliment.
Yeah, right. It is promising you. It will give you some temporary happiness, but it is not ever satisfied.
That is exactly what the hell is, in a way, isn't it? That it's insatiable. And Swedenborg sees this because he says a lot of us don't have opportunities. You know, not everybody in the world is going to be rich. Not everybody's going to get everything they want or have all the physical health they want or whatever kind of thing. So he says you don't even realize how these things lurk. But if you suddenly had, $10 billion dropped into your bank account and you suddenly had a whole entourage of people, how would you actually be? Would you be kindly, or would you be, here's my chance to crush my enemies? And
didn't they do that experiment? Like, I don't know if this was debunked or not, but the prison guard experiment at that one school, or there was
a very serious thing
a bunch of students who were dressed up and had power, and so they didn't. And very quickly, you start to go crazy.
It went downhill very, very in a matter of a couple of days. Yeah.
There's a movie that I don't know if I just saw it or a clip from it, but it was about this oil baron guy who was the richest person who had ever lived back in his day. And he was saying, when you get extreme wealth, an abyss of possibilities opens up, and very few people can survive that.
Yeah, it seems to be so like it's been interesting to me to see the musicians that I loved when I was younger. A lot of them are older now, but some people just I feel for them. They spiraled into addiction and crash, burn. It's a car accident. It's a train accident or something, and then it's amazing to see some of the people who are kind of healthy and normal and don't have an oversized ego, even though they were like really hot, greatest hits kind of. It's interesting to see, but I think it's hard when you really get extraordinary power and wealth. Yeah. And so we can all say, oh, I wouldn't, but we don't know because we don't have enough money or, we don't know those temptations.
But you have little versions of that. You have your road rage people. And so I'll read this next, the rest of this quote. It says, they engage even more deeply in self-love when they hate and persecute their neighbor on that account. Still more deeply when they burn with revenge against their neighbor on that account and do not desire their neighbor's ruin. In the end, such people love to vent their rage on their neighbor, and if they are adulterers, they turn abusive. So road rage.
Interesting.
So road rage is you think you're going along and you're kind of a reasonable person, but somebody makes you mad somehow, and you want to destroy them.
Yeah.
And that you see this all the time. This is something that happens to the human race.
It's got a name.
Or this and any like true crime show. It's like somebody gets jilted by some person that they were dating or something, and then they just like spiral into this and they go kill people. That's in there.
Yeah, that burning with revenge. And so I like the way Swedenborg has that in the you've got it bad if it's this. It's worse if it's here, right? It's really bad if it's here, and so he's giving you a little sort of a, like, I don't know, I used to be in a house that had a swimming pool, and you'd have a little test strip that you'd dip in the water, and then you'd see if what's going on
pH.
in there. Sort of like, to test all the level of this and that in there, and
Hello, everybody. We hope you're enjoying this discussion. If you're not, sorry. We've tried our best. If you are, you may notice we've been quoting out of something called Secrets of Heaven this whole time, and all these cool ideas that we're talking about came out of that. Well, that's specifically out of this book, Secrets of Heaven, Volume 10, which is fresh off the press.
That's right.
Jonathan's team made this. Do you want to talk, like, what is this? What am I talking about right here?
Oh, it's so great. Swedenborg's first published theological work was Secrets of Heaven, so we've turned it into 15 volumes in the English. And this is 10 of 15. This is the first one on Exodus. And there's just awesome stuff in here. We've done several shows out of Volume 10 already.
Oh, yeah. I'm reading Volume 10 at home, and it's got the internal meaning of the escape from the Egyptians.
That's right.
And the wandering
people go,
in the wilderness, and the manna and the quail, which is all about the struggles that we go through and how God leads us through in sequence. So I'm loving it.
It's great stuff.
You guys can all get it. There's a ebook version, there's a print version, there's a link in the description. Any proceeds from if you buying it support the not-for-profit Swedenborg Foundation and allow the translation to continue and everything like that, and allow us to make free programming like the thing you're watching right now. So if you want to dive deeper and you want to know more than we know about this, check out Secrets of Heaven Volume 10. Now back to the show. All right, so let's go to the next number. I feel like something that I don't know if we communicated this well enough is that we're giving these extreme examples of the love of self, but mostly we experience it in subtle ways. It's not like I'm going to crush my enemies literally, but it's like I'm going to win this argument. How dare you disrespect me? I want this to all be about me. Maybe I'm just jealous of you. Maybe I would gossip about you. There's subtle ways in which it shows. It just has the potential. That's like the little baby devil, but it is ready to grow up. And also it's still choking the inflow from heaven. It is keeping us in hell. It's maybe not be the only thing bringing unhappiness in our life, but it's definitely sabotaging our efforts to move out of hell into heaven. It's
such an important concept. And it's reminiscent to me of in the 12 steps in the so-called big book kind of launched AA, Alcoholics Anonymous.
Yep.
They talk in there, if memory serves, about the raising the bottom. Like they talked about hitting bottom. The only people who would turn around early on were people who just hit bottom so badly, like their lives were just destroyed. And what they wanted to do to help other people was to say, can you see how you are on the same path? And before you lose your mind or die or go to prison, figure that out, and try to hop off a little earlier on that same bus. It's such a basic idea to think about. How can you tell these symptoms? It's a lot like a disease too. You say, okay, here's a really bad case, where you're like physically shaking from head to toe or something. But do you feel that little tiny tremor or something?
Yep.
Just trying to catch it early.
So why would anybody go with this negative stuff, those love of self stuff? It's because it feels great. There's an appeal to it. This is why anybody does anything bad, because it feels good.
Yeah, there's a delight.
The pleasure this behavior yields them is the pleasure accompanying self-love, which, when it is present in a person, is the pleasure of hell. Hell has its own pleasure. Hell's not just misery. It's got its...
I think some people think of hell as like this idea of punishment, torment, the fire, like you're burning or something. But Swedenborg says the Bible talks about hellfire, but what that is this passion, this obsession, whatever you want to call it, that's burning in you. It's not, oh no, I'm in pain, I'm being hurt all the time. No, it's this.
The road rage is hellfire. That's what's...
Yeah.
You see that.
And you can see it. And like I think of the Lord of the Rings, where the ring bearer or the uncle, Bilbo, who used to carry the ring. And then he goes, give me that ring, and all this, his whole face changes, right?
That's right.
You just see, whoa, they're flared right up there,
Yep.
And it's related because the ring represents power, right? Like everybody, it's kind of got this seduction about it. Like, I want the ring.
Any activity that harmonizes with the things a person loves is agreeable. So the delight is a clue to the nature of the love. What?
Okay, so this is a diagnostic tool he's talking about, right?
That's right.
Like the nature of the pleasure you can trace back from there to, okay, that's where this is coming from.
Yeah, if you're trying to identify what's keeping me in hell, well, the thing that keeps you in hell is evils and falsities. So where do I have evils in me if I want to do some self-examination?
Yeah.
Well, you got to look at what do you enjoy? What would you enjoy that's negative?
Yeah, that's, say, antisocial, or that's, yeah.
So you mentioned before that some people are obsessed with, will I or won't I do something bad or act out?
Yeah.
I know that in obsessive compulsive disorder, there's a bunch of different categories of it. Some are that people get intrusive negative thoughts that they'll do something bad, right? But
so if feeling like I'm going to, I'm going to do this.
Or will I or won't I? Yeah. There's a whole category of it that's that. But
interesting. The
difference between obsessive compulsive and, let's say, like being a psychopath or narcissistic person, when you're obsessive compulsive, you don't enjoy those thoughts.
No, they're intrusive.
They're intrusive. Right. They're besieging. You don't like them. So if you're somebody who's like, I have all these negative thoughts about people, does that mean I'm evil? Well, if you don't enjoy acting on them, if you don't intend to act on them, enjoy acting on them, it's that's a little something else.
And then is it the case that partly if you do certain behaviors is to try to deal with those intrusive thoughts, like distract you or something? Is that how it works, kind of thing?
Anything you do to try to relieve the uncomfortable sensation that those obsessions give you.
It's so interesting. I'm so glad you're learning so much about this.
Oh man, well it just builds out the picture of the mind, which is, I think Swedenborg has this indispensable backbone of what I think the stuff that you learn about any given. We've talked about addiction, obsessive compulsive, road rage. We've talked about these states we get in. Those all really clearly see a piece of the human mind, and they understand things with a level of detail and scrutiny that Swedenborg doesn't. However, Swedenborg gives you the big picture, and he does have an extreme detail in certain areas that nobody else I've ever heard of have. But what he does overall is give you like, this is how it all fits together.
And he can go way into the roots.
Right.
Because like, why do you have OCD, or why does, where does the intrusive thought come from? Well, he can answer some of those questions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We just recorded a video about that, which hopefully we'll post it sometime soon. The remarks above at 7370 indicate just who have devoted themselves to self-love.
Okay, that's an important wording, isn't it?
Devoted.
Devoted yourself to it. It's on, everybody's got that on the menu. But did you say, the unhealthiest thing on the menu? That's what I'm having every day.
It does not matter how people appear on the outside, whether proud or humble, because the urges of self-love are located in the inner self.
There you go. So yeah, you can't judge this in somebody else. Interestingly,
would be nice.
Says,
would be fun. It's
So
super.
he has this little formula where he says, if this person is on the inside the way they appear to be on the outside, then I see such and such qualities. But the fact is, we can only ever see the outside of people, and this is an attribute of the inner self.
Yeah, it's limited. Judging other people is limited utility. So you can't really know what someone else's motivations are. So you're never going to, they're actually forbidden in Swedenborgian theology or worldview. You're not supposed to do that. That's called a spiritual judgment.
Yeah,
that's
right.
what Jesus is talking about when he says, judge not lest ye be judged. You can't say to somebody, I know you're good or evil. Or
right.
that I can't say I know your motives. Not supposed to do that. But also, there's just a limited utility because, right, you are never going to know that with specificity what's an evil in someone and what's not, because you can't tell. And there's just not that much you can do about it anyway. There's certain guardrails you want to set up. Okay, this person,
sure,
I'm not going to spend time around.
Hiring or whatever, yeah. Sure.
Hiring somebody. If you're in law enforcement, you got to make judgment calls. Which friends am I going to let my kid hang out? Sure, make those, but then that's about it.
Thankfully, our salvation and damnation is not, hinging on, it's not like an opinion poll or something.
Yeah.
So what do you think, everybody? Yes, no.
That's
Doesn't look good.
See that like red green bar that you used to have on YouTube of likes versus dislikes, and but with yourself, there's endless utility.
And the Book of Revelation talks about the fact, it doesn't sound related, but it has that amazing image that there's this book that has 7 seals on it, and only the Lamb can undo the seals on the book. And what Swedenborg says this means is that only the Lord, the divine human being, kind of, the one who is both God and walked on the earth, is able to go to that 7th level, to like undo everything that in our book of life, to really tell. We're mysteries to ourselves. Parents say to kids, why did you do? Well, the kid will make something up, but we don't know why we do so much of what we do, or why are we the way that we are. We don't really know. And so it's a great, and the Lord is in a position to do something about it. Lord actually has that power of salvation, can get you out of hell and everything. So it's useful in the hands of the Lord. It's above our pay grade too.
Yeah. So where does this point, if we're trying to give people action items from this, it seems like there's 2 layers of what makes hell versus what makes heaven. One layer is the emotional, motivational side of it, which we're saying there's love of the neighbor, which is a love for the welfare of everyone and fairness and truth and honesty and justice, something that is universal.
Yeah.
And then there's the love of self, which is self-focused, in-group focused, despises others. So there's that emotional level. There's also, though, the cognitive level, the beliefs level, the truth versus falsity. And a characteristic of hell, according to Swedenborg, is that everybody who's devoted to a state of hell believes in human prudence and that God doesn't exist, or that divine providence is not a factor that shapes life. So it's in favor of, it's materialistic or self-oriented. Who's figuring things out? By what mechanism does life unfold? Well, it's like fortune and chance, and then my own mental tenacity. That's how it happens.
Yeah.
Versus heaven is characterized by a growing to almost complete trust and belief that divine providence is the mover in life.
Yeah.
So that would be the guidance of God over everything.
Yeah.
That's what's shaping the outcomes.
Again, humility mixed in there, right? Like, yes, and having seen from that track record that, no, even the worst things in my life, it turns out there was some good came out of it. I learned a lesson, and there's a benevolence in everything that's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are quite different. They're quite different.
And for some reason, you just made me think of Achilles, and because I tried to think about the correspondences of the Iliad and the Odyssey at some point, and the Achilles is this amazing figure because you got all these other people who are working together in this battle, the Greeks versus the Trojans. Everything. Achilles is off, and he's actually pouting about something, and he's by himself, and he's down there, and he disrupts the whole thing. You know, they're all trying to do something. They're trying to get him to, well, why can't, oh, well, no, I'm mad about something. You know, it's a perfect image of what sometimes you've got everything you need, but one part of yourself or one member of the family. You're trying to take a family photo. It's just a simple family photo for Christmas. You know, we got to take this picture now. And there's one person who doesn't want to cooperate.
Oh, well, you see that.
Right?
Well, in, like, let's say online spaces, like a chat during a video or a comment, or even it just takes one person to ruin it. I remember I was out to lunch with my family and some relatives, and there was this person just like acting up and like yelling at people and like walking around, and had a bunch of security guards walking around her, and she was just going up and down it. And it's like, all it takes is that one person to just ruin the mood for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, just ruin the mood for everyone.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between how you think in heaven. Or, I'm just trying to think. You were saying,
I like what you're saying.
You don't know yourself.
There's a thought level, because those thoughts about, like, okay, the role of God, and we're not talking here about what do you tell people when they knock on your door. We're talking about really in your heart of hearts. Do you have a God, or are you God? Basically, right?
Yeah.
Like in the 12 steps, there's this idea of the great I am, or something that there's a characteristic in addictions, that there's a tendency both to feel poor me and also the great I am. They're both in there.
And you get,
but not a recognition of, like, the Lord is in charge, the Lord is good. I'm just a pawn in the chess game of life. I'm just here to serve and to help out in any way I can. If I miss out on this, it's okay. It probably wouldn't have been good for me. If I get that, I shouldn't get a fat head about it. Mm-hmm. You know, Swedenborg's got wonderful descriptions of that kind of state of mind, that heavenly state of mind that you can get into, where you don't get like ruffled by every little insult if somebody left your name off the list or something.
Human prudence versus divine providence. It seems like secular mental health care stuff points in the direction of divine providence without using those terms and without going all the way to a benevolent force runs the universe. But
right.
I saw this video by a psychologist online who was saying, I think it was anxiety, just broadly using that, which encompasses several disorders or whatever.
Right.
That anxiety is a disturbed relationship with certainty. And with obsessive compulsive disorder, the it revolves around certainty. Like you're doing your things to try to gain this sense of certainty of this is how things are going to go. Do I know for sure that this thing is like this? Am I sure that I'm going to be healthy or that I'm healthy right now?
Yeah.
And what they try to get you to is a state where it's like, well, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. Like that's like what the people at UCLA and wherever develop these things, that's where they try to get you to is, I don't know. And it's interesting, right? There's no, you think of the serenity prayer, sure, that's a little bit religious.
That's right.
But everything that's trying to give you good life wisdom will say, well, you don't know. You don't know when you're going to die. There's big things you can't control. That's the true mindset, which is more pointing in the direction of divine providence than human prudence.
That's right. That's right. And somewhere underneath there's a layer, like certainly there's the idea that the body knows how to heal if you don't get in the way. Mm-hmm. There's sort of a positive view that there's that wisdom there and it'll work out. And I think there's a similar view about like, yeah, there's a process, and when you've been through trauma, there's something wants to heal if you give it half a chance. It's sort of hinting at the idea of a benevolent divine force behind everything, but maybe just deeply hidden in this sense of like, well, things tend to work out, and you can trust. You can trust that, or a little bit like Martin Luther King Jr.'s thing about the arc of history is long, but it bends toward justice. The idea that it's gradually headed in a positive direction.
Or if you love somebody, let them go.
Let them go. Right. Rather than controlling. I loved a thing that I've heard in a show the other day. Oh, yeah, it was about the singer Joni Mitchell, that she had this great relationship with Graham Nash, but she said that if you squeeze something too hard, it sort of oozes between your fingers, like you'll lose it, That's sort of the difference of the kind of controlling it from yourself. Just, I love this relationship. It's very important to me,
You would never see the end of like a movie like The Shawshank Redemption or something moving where the final lesson is, and that was when I learned to control every aspect of life, and that I was the only. It's always like that doesn't uplift the human spirit. Nobody recognizes that as true who's actually had to live a life like this.
Yeah,
you can get the illusion of that when everything goes your way and you don't have major catastrophes. But generally, there's this truth, which is there's something bigger going on than us.
Worked out better than you thought. Or
points or love is about freedom. You got to live in the present. That doesn't make any sense. That's the least strategic way to live in the present.
That's right.
So I'm just saying that's the other side of it, is human prudence versus divine providence. As for the love of worldly advantages, this reigns supreme in us. We exhibit this love when in our thoughts and deeds we aim and strive only for financial gain. So this is like the mini devil. This is 1B.
This is the second
that could be running your life.
He talks the difference between like the devil and Satan, or I forget, he uses different terms, but so he's got kind of two basic kinds of evil or evil loves, and the worst is this just dominant. It's all about me. I'll crush everybody else, and but this second one is, I don't need my ego in it a whole lot, but I would like to take your land if I could, if that would be okay with you.
And look at this second part of the sentence. So, when our thoughts and deeds, we aim and strive only for financial gain, unconcerned whether we harm our neighbor or the public at large in achieving it. Yes,
exactly right. And this seems to be fairly rampant in society, right now, I would say. There's some other time periods have done better in terms of sharing and, okay, well, it'll all work out kind of thing. But the idea of just this galloping acquisition, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if I bankrupt the 3 countries in the, or something like that. Get ahead. And that's the key of it. In and of themselves, these things, to have regard for yourself or to provide for yourself or to try to increase your wealth. And that's all fine, Swedenborg, says. That's all fine. It's the unconcern. It's the despising others in comparison with yourself. It's the unconcern for the damage to society. That's where it dips down into the hell side of the graph, doesn't it?
Like if I were to say, I want one of these microphones for my own use for some reason. If I said, well, I'm going to go and on the weekend, I'm going to work at a pizza place and earn extra money and get one of these microphones. There's nothing non-spiritual about that.
Right.
But if I were to say, when everyone turns off these cameras, I'm going to detach this thing and take it home, even though this was paid for by the not-for-profit Swedenborg Foundation.
Yeah.
Everybody knows there's a huge difference there.
Yeah.
I still end up with the microphone, but it's worlds apart because, no duh.
And chances are, if you're trying to do that, you want to do it when the other people aren't in the building. You're going to try to put it somewhere where they can't see that deception immediately comes in there, right? Because you don't want people to know that you just walked off with it. That would be kind of brazen. So people come back and they want, well, I wonder what happened. And then they get upset and they go, are people getting in here at night? What, this is unsettling. And
I would be like, I don't know. Did we ever even have a second microphone? I feel like I
thought we were switching them back
leaned
and forth.
over. Yeah.
You never see them in the same shot, do you?
People engage in love of worldly advantages when they wish to divert the belongings of others to themselves by methods they have dreamed up, and especially when they wish to do so by trickery and deceit.
Here again, we got sort of a slippery slope, right? And so one thing is, I want to divert your because right there, it's not, I want to do well. A rising tide lifts all boats. I'm happy if you're doing well too. That's great. Hey, let's all move forward together. No, this is about, I want to divert. I want to have my boat. I want to have your boat. I don't care if you don't have a boat.
Yes, and you can see the insanity of that I was watching a video that this guy said 100 years ago, nobody in the world had a hot shower. Kings, queens, nobody had a hot shower.
That's right.
So you are living better in some regard than they ever did. But it doesn't feel like that because you see other people that have more stuff.
Who got 2 showers.
They got 2 showers. What they have, these people, is one of those showers with it's big and it has 2, a shower head on one side and a shower head on the other, and they just walk around in this shower
big square
kingdom,
rain shower,
and it's got a glass on the side of it.
That's right.
I want that. I covet that.
I know.
People with this love envy others their property and covet it. If they do not fear the law, they also steal and even pillage.
Yeah, so steal would be sort of take a little bit. Pillage is like, you come home and there's not a thing in the little line for the ice maker in the fridge is just hanging out of the wall.
Well, who pillaged then was the Grinch.
That's right.
Remember that? Those empty.
That is a champion piece of pillagage.
Yeah. So now we get to the part where Swedenborg directly connects this love of self that we've been talking about to the Lucifer mentioned in the Bible.
Okay.
And we're talking about how it will just keep growing if we don't check it. The more unbridled these two kinds of love are, the more we're carried away by them, the more they increase. Finally, they grow so excessive that they want to control not only everything in our own country, but everything beyond its borders too, all the way to the ends of the earth. In fact, when these loves are given free rein, they climb all the way to the God of the universe, up so high that they try to climb onto God's throne and be worshipped as God himself. This is in keeping with the following words in Isaiah concerning Lucifer. Lucifer stands for people immersed in self-love and materialism, who are called Babylon. You have said in your heart, I will scale the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God and sit on the mountain of assembly, on the flanks of the north. I will climb above the loftiest parts of the cloud and become like the highest one. But you are sent down to hell.
Yeah. And I think this is a very important warning. Swedenborg could see from his spiritual perspective, it's like being able to see how people turned out in the other life when all the appearances melt away and you see what people really are in their inner selves in an honest world. And there were people who had just insane galloping love. I mean, he describes it, meaning not love like, oh, I love you so much. No, this is talking about that there's so much ego or so much desire to acquire everything in the universe that they're completely insane. And I think, in a way, I'm thinking in this show that that's part of what makes it hell. I think the Lord wants a heaven where there's an abundance, right? Swedenborg describes how when you feel this heavenly joy, it's just overwhelming. It's so great. And then when you want to give it to somebody else, it doubles, because that's the nature of it. It's a very giving, let's share, let's all have plenty, and let's do well. And there's so much joy in that. The heavenly joy is just indescribable from the joy of being with a whole bunch of other happy people who want to share with you, who aren't threatened by you. They aren't trying to crush you, and you're not trying to crush them, and you're working together on something. It's so fun. And that the fact that the other, as you said before, can never be satisfied. It'll never rest. If God said, I'm going to make you my number 2, you'd still be eyeballing the throne, thinking, there's got to be a number 2. I don't want to put up with this.
Yeah.
Who does he think I am?
Yeah. Well, because God, who is number 1, doesn't have that love of self or love of the world.
Oh, that's the amazing thing. And that's what Jesus so beautifully embodies. When does he ever complain? When do you ever hear him complain? Up all night, and then these people got to be healed, and he never complains, right? He never complains. He's completely selfless. And when they're saying to him, they feel sorry for him going to the crucifixion, and he says, "Oh no, feel sorry for yourselves." He won't take their pity. It's just like, no, this is.
Forgive them. They don't know what they're doing.
They don't know what they're doing.
Also, your description earlier of, oh, wait, all these people can be great and good together. It's just like when the Grinch is up on the hill and he hears the Who's singing anyway, and then his heart grows and he's like, never mind, I stole all these presents and it didn't do what I thought it was going to do. So I got to go back down there and I'm actually going to help them eat their dinner and give them all their presents back. And
then he's more joyful. They're more joyful. They think it's great. This is great.
Yeah. This discussion now shows that these two kinds of love are the sources of all evil. After all, they are diametrically opposed to love for one's neighbor and to love for the Lord. So they are diametrically opposed to heaven, where love for the Lord and love for one's neighbor predominate. Consequently, these two loves, self-love and love for worldly advantages, are what make hell in a person, because in hell they predominate.
That's an important statement. And so, the hope in this show, and the hope I'm taking for myself as well, is like, can we really get to be connoisseurs of this? Can you start to really tell, ooh, I think that's got that love of self vibe to it, or that's got that materialism, that love of worldly advantages. When you start to see that, like, no, I would trample somebody I would crush somebody to get their stuff because I want that so badly. And when you can sniff that, even when it just first pokes itself into your consciousness, you get that, like the dog whisperer.
That's right. Yeah. I do that to my dogs, but they don't listen at all.
There you go.
But I try.
Nip it in the bud as much as possible when you just see a little whiff of that. We're never going to be rid of it, I don't think. But it's but if you can subordinate that in yourself to make something more important, that leaves room for this love of the Lord and love of the neighbor that's so heavenly.
Yeah. To end on a positive note, this is not saying that if you look at love of self as kind of the love of power and love of the world as the love of possessions and wealth, those two things are not antithetical to being spiritual or to heaven, to having heaven inside you. You can be going after those in a heavenly way. And here's how it works. However, consider people who aspire to high position not for their own sake, but for the sake of their country. Consider those who aspire to wealth, not for its own sake, but in order to provide the necessities of life for both themselves and their dependents, or for the sake of some good purpose that makes affluence delightful. People like this are not controlled by self-love and materialism. With them, position and wealth are a means of doing good. That's it. That's the formula.
Key word controlled by, to me, that's what I heard in there, was that we're all going to have those thoughts and desires that relate to that self-love and that love of wealth. And the control part is where I'm picturing, there must be movies like this where there's one slight and then you get angry and then you try to take revenge and it doesn't work, and then it goes, you're going down this slippery slope of where it's taken over and you're not able to get free of, you're obsessed all the time now with this revenge. Like, it's what you live for. It's what you meditate on all the time. It's why you exist. And Swedenborg's talking about, let's not have that be in control. That's all. It'll be there. It'll submit its vote. I vote we kill them all. Sometimes you'll get those emails in your head, but it's not, it doesn't make the choices. The choices, like, that would not be of heaven. That doesn't serve God. That doesn't serve my neighbor, and it doesn't make me happy. But thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much anyway for your suggestion. We will consider it for next time.
Yeah.
It seems like you can really clearly delineate the difference. What's heaven? What's hell? It has to do with what your purpose is.
Yes.
The purpose of heaven is to do good. So there can be anything within your actions box if the ultimate goal of it is to do good. Yeah. You can be striving incredibly hard to gain wealth or gain power if ultimately you are trying to do what's good. However, you might not realize whether or not you're actually trying to do good unless you're willing to look for the devil in yourself. So knowing that the devil is, I care about myself and wealth and pleasure above all, the more you know that, the more you look for that in yourself and say, that's not acceptable as an ultimate purpose for me. That can be a means, but it can't be a goal. The more you look at yourself, then you can be a little more confident that what you think is good is actually good. And then you can go full steam ahead toward trying to pursue that thing. Hell is just, the ultimate goal is myself. Heaven is, the ultimate goal is what is good, ultimately good for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Even if it means in the short run, I don't get what I would prefer, or I look bad, but this good thing happens. Something good results.
Yeah, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. It's like the difference between the box and the thing that you order. What do people order? The headphones. You order some headphones. They come in a box. Yeah. The box is for shipping. Now, you'd rather just have the box doesn't get dinged up at all. It's nice and good and it arrives. But the box can get trashed and the headphones still come, and if they work, then it's all good. Yeah. So it is with our reputations, the wealth and power and prestige and all that. That's the box, and it'd be nice to not have to go through hard things around that. It'd be nice for our lives to not get disrupted. But if the goodness happens, we would be willing to ding up the box for that. Yeah. Versus, it's all about the box. I would throw the headphones out to keep it. Man, what a powerful analogy I'm giving right here.
It's so good.
That's the difference. That's the difference between heaven and hell. Hell is headphones. Heaven is headphones. Hell is a box that they come in.
Good. Nice.
Okay.
And it makes me think about Swedenborg himself, where he really made a big choice. We've talked about that before on the show, that he was a well-known scientist, had a good reputation, lots of honor, distinction. He's a nobleman, he's in the government and all that. He made a very, very big sacrifice to write these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a serious choice. Like, do I want to look like I'm out of my mind, I'm hallucinating, and,
Yep.
do I want to sound insane to people or be judged by people and all that? And he thinks, I think this could do some good.
Let's go.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Hopefully, y'all who are watching, take some inspiration from something we said today to go out and do what's good. Let's see if we can't get our life to be a little less hellish, a little more heavenly. Thanks for hanging out today.
That was a powerful conversation.
Super fun. Thanks everyone for watching. Click like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.